Everyone, Mrs. Hewat here. Today I'm going to read to you our first book of our new text set called Flight of the Honeybee. And this is the first book of our new text set, which is hybrid texts. And hybrid texts are books that are both fiction and nonfiction. So the nonfiction element is the facts and information you're going to learn today about honeybees, but there's also going to be an element of a story, which is fiction, which makes it a hybrid. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to read this together. We've heard you say you can't hear us, so I'm going to really make sure I am not talking while the book's in front of my face. So here we go. Flight of the Honeybee by Raymond Hubbard and illustrated by Brian Lovelock. Here we go. The honeybee is one of the smallest creatures in the world, but it may be one of the most important for life on Earth. It is the planet's greatest pollinator, moving pollen from one plant to another, causing flowers to produce seeds and fruits. Honeybees can live in the wild or in boxes made by beekeepers. The honeybee can't live alone. It's part of a family that works closely together. A bee is always changing jobs. First she's a cleaner, then a babysitter, a builder, a guard, a scout, and finally a harvester. This is the story of a scout. So that's the part of the book that's telling you the fiction part. We're going to learn about a scout. Flight of the Honeybee. Here we go. A bee is the size of a cherry pit, crawls from her hive. Her stripes glow golden in the morning sun. Scout has spent her whole life in the crowded hive. Now it's time for her to fly out and explore the world. Time to search for flowers from which to collect pollen and nectar for food. Her sister bees are inside making honey. But will there be enough? The cold is coming, and Scout must find the last flower of fall. There are about 50,000 female bees in a hive and very few males. Scout's wings hum to life so fast they are almost invisible, lifting her into the sky. She rises in a spiral up and away from the hive. Scout remembers when she passes what she passes as she flies, so later she can return home. She knows the sun will guide her too. So bees navigate using sunlight, landmarks, and smell. They also have a magnetic sense that is like a built-in compass. Scout flies swift and straight as an arrow. The wind buffets her, ruffling the fine hairs on her face. But she keeps on steadily and rides out the rapids. Eyes as black as polished stones are searching, seeking a splash of color below. I wonder what the splash of color could be. Let's keep going. The arresting smell drifts on the breeze. Scout locks onto its scent. She flies over a clearing and spread before her in the marvelous meadow are oceans of flowers. Bees are furry, even their eyeballs. Their hairs keep them and help them to the changing wind. Bees have a powerful sense of smell. They use their antenna to pick up scents. Bees can smell in stereo, each antenna smelling a different section. So we learned all those colors below were the flowers. A flash of feathers. A hungry blackbird swoops for the kill, but Scout zips down and escapes the trees, weaving between tangled wings. Many creatures eat honeybees, including other insects such as wasps and dragonflies, as well as spiders, frogs, birds, and mammals such as bears and badgers. So the nonfiction element on this page was we learned about some of the honeybee's predators, and we found that in the little section of text right there. When the coast is clear, Scout is drawn to a sea of flowers again. She settles on a velvety petal and plunges her head into the flowers. Here is sunken treasure, a cup of sweet nectar. The tip of her tongue, shaped like a miniature spoon, sips the syrup. Scout zigs and zags, flower to flower, spreading pollen around. The pollen clings to her fuzzy body, a sprinkle of sun powder. Bees are charged with static electricity during flight, which attracts pollen to their bodies. They have an extra stomach in which they carry nectar home. So we've already learned some of the elements of our story because we know her name is Scout. Bees don't really have names, so that's part of the fiction part. That's the story of Scout, Scout the bee. Scout has finished drinking. She must tell her sister bees about this field of blue. But the thundercloud cloaks the sun. All at once the cloud burst. Rain batters Scout to the ground. She crawls under a leaf of hailstone bombs exploding around her. Bees avoid rain and storms. Raindrops even damage and chill their wing muscles, leaving them grounded. Poor Scout. I hope she's okay. The downpour passes. Scout picks up the scent of her hive and follows it. Outside the hive, there's a squad of guard bees. A yellow jacket enemy is attacking. Scout knows that twitchy way of flying. It's a wasp. The wasp grabs Scout as she glides into the land. It raises her stinger, but the guard move in, wrestling the wasp with their legs. Honeybees only sting to defend themselves. They will die after stinging a large animal. Wasps invade beehives to steal honey and eat baby bees. Go. Scout is safe inside the hive at last. She begins a dance on the wax comb. The audience gathers, captive by the floral scent of Scout's body. Scout spins a story dance, every movement a sentence. Scout waggles, twists, and turns, describing the route to the blue meadow. She passes only to share samples of sweet nectar. Scout repeats the dance for many sister bees. The bees dance is a complex language that can communicate millions of different messages. So today, after we're done reading, you're going to learn about this dance. So keep that in mind as we keep going. I'll give you a little clue. It's called the waggle dance. It's pretty cool. Now that the sister bees know where to find the meadow, hundreds of bees take off. They flick from the hive like golden pebbles. Bees need to harvest nectar from more than 2 million flowers to make enough honey to fill one jar. So, as I keep reading, I want you to think about a book that we've already read about bees and see if you can make a text to text connection. Back in the hive, Scout passes her precious nectar to the house bees. They put it in the comb and they fan it with their wings. The nectar will be transformed into liquid gold, honey for bees to eat. Nectar is mostly water until the bees dry and thicken it by beating their wings, converting it to honey. Now, we live in northern New Hampshire and other places in the area that have certain types of trees called maple trees. When people make maple syrup, it goes through a similar process. It starts off very thin, a little bit sweet, and then it boils down and down and down until you get sweet, sticky syrup, kind of like honey. It's kind of the same, except the bees make it. Scout visits a nursery where babysitter bees pluck the pollen from their body and mix it with honey to feed the babies. The queen can lay thousands of eggs a day. It's the job of a few male bees in the hive to fertilize a new queen. Nearby sits the queen, long and lustrous. She is the mother of all bees, laying eggs that look like tiny grains of rice. And when we read our other book about bees, you watched a life cycle of the bee and actually drew the 4 cycles of the bee's life. So you already know a little bit about this. Exhausted after her mission, Scout rests her silvery wings for a spell. Soon she will join her sister bees in the blue meadow for the fall harvest. With enough honey, her family can now survive in the winter. Scout's daring flight has been worth every beat of her wings. In a lifetime, a bee can travel more than 500 miles from 500 miles on flower runs, and its wings eventually wear out. That's a lot of flying for some little wings. And that's the end of the story. But if we take a look at the last page, we can see some nonfiction text features. We have a message about saving bees, and we even have an index to go back to in case we wanted to learn more about specific parts or information about bees. I hope you have enjoyed this hybrid text, Flight of the Honeybee. Stay tuned. We have 5 books in this text set altogether. I hope you'd enjoy it, and we'll see you again soon for our next book. Bye bye.